and we are employment support specialists with the City of London in Life Stabilization, which delivers the Ontario Works program. And we will be your hosts for today's session. If you have any questions, please type them in the chat, and Joanna will be monitoring this throughout the presentation. The construction industry is booming all over the province, including right here in London, and continued to operate throughout the pandemic. We are hearing all the time that there are shortages of workers for several occupations, and this includes the construction trade. And to that end, we have brought together some industry specialists to present some valuable information should you want to pursue training and/or employment in the construction industry. First, let me introduce Tulay Khan, employment specialist with the Pathways Employment Help Center, Mike Ropp, training director at LIUNA 1059, Paul Tuft, the Skills to Build program manager with Fanshawe College. And I would also like to thank Yasmin Shwaiki Al-Rafay from Fanshawe College, who will be managing the video and audio for us today. I'd also like to shout out to Steph Strum from Pathways for putting together the slide deck for today's presentation. So without further ado, let me hand it over to Tulay.
Thank you, Wanda. Thanks for the introduction. We're excited to have this presentation, and we'll just jump right into it then. Yasmin, if you don't mind going to the slide, the first one, thank you. So we're going to start off by talking a little bit about what it's like to work in the sector, to give you an idea of, the work hours. So let's get right into it. Construction work is mostly year-round work. Certain jobs are seasonal work, but the max that you'll have off is really a few months during like really harsh winter conditions, weather conditions, such as, certain industries are like this within construction, like roofing or masonry, when you're not physically able to do it. Other than that, it is a year-round industry for sure, where you can have employment year-round. The weekdays and early mornings is really a great option for people with families or somebody who wants a schedule. There's really rarely any shift work. Again, there are certain jobs that you can do that are shift work, but mainly it's weekdays, early mornings, and you could work depending on the weather. Again, you could work anywhere from 8 to 10 hours, or if there's, for example, a heat wave in the summer, you could either cut it short or take frequent water breaks. As you can see, the industry is really dependent on weather, because we just have to make sure that everybody's safe and being hydrated, and that the conditions are kind of optimal to be able to carry out your job. Obviously, own transportation always broadens your employment options, as it does outside of the industry, but in construction, if you do have a driver's license, at least, it gives you more opportunities to take on positions where you would be able to drive the company pickup truck or go from various sites. And also, some sites are not located where public transportation is available. This is just something to consider, kind of if you're planning to get in, to kind of maybe plan to get a driver's license. But if you don't, a lot of the residential, like for example, high-rise buildings, you would be able to access if you do rely on public transportation. We have some entry-level job titles for you to think about. So a construction laborer, general laborer, or laborer would be some of the postings that you would see online for entry-level positions. Feel free to search them and kind of see what they're looking for. And then the more experienced job titles that you would expect once you're really in the industry would be things such as carpenter, framer, although there are entry-level framing positions as well. A painter, roofer, concrete finisher, flooring installer would be more experienced titles. So that's kind of the general overview. We're going to get into a little bit more details in a little bit, but I'm just going to pass it on to Mike, who's going to give you more of the union perspective.
Yeah, so now, my name is Mike Ropp. I'm the training director with LIUNA, Local 1059 in London. LIUNA stands for Laborers International Union of North America. And I was asked to bring kind of the union perspective. I've worked non-union construction as well. The other perspective I bring to the table would be I served an apprenticeship way back. I did 10 years in the brick and stone masonry trade, and then got into the training element with the Bricklayers Union and the Laborers Union. So as mentioned before, some other entry-level titles that you might search for if you're looking for a leg up to get into the industry would be an apprentice or a construction helper. Often people are looking for jobs and they lack experience. So it's very rare that you can just jump right into a trade and pick up where all the other people are working off. You got to start at the bottom of the rung and work your way up. When asked what's a typical day like in construction, you look outside today's not a very good day to be working in construction unless you have inside work. The job sites are always changing. The crews that you may be asked to work with are continually changing. But in reality, that's for most people working in construction, that's a benefit. People like not going to the same environment day after day. Construction is always changing. The job can be dirty, cold, hot, wet, but those are some things that construction workers in general thrive on and enjoy the challenge. But if you're looking for the type of job where it's 9 to 5, going to the same, roof over your head every day, construction is not that. Typically, yes, a 40 to 50 hour work week is expected. And in Canada, many of our trades are affected by the weather. So there's certain sectors of construction that really slow down in the winter months. For example, asphalt plants close down. You don't pour concrete outside in the winter months unless it's protected inside a building with heat. So there's some types of construction where you really want to, make hay when the sun shines, or get as much work in during the summer months when you can. And some people actually enjoy that. They'll work their 9-10 months very hard during the year and take a couple months when the winter is upon us to, heaven forbid we could travel again, but to do some traveling or spend some family time. And the last point I'll make on this is, if you're a hands-on tactile learner, someone who likes working with their hands, construction can be very rewarding, because it's a type of job that at the end of the day, you're not relying on someone else to make you look good. You can really see what you've done or what you've been a part of that day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yasmin, if you want, we could go to the next slide if you're done. Was that it, Mike, for you?
For that slide, I think, yeah.
Okay, perfect. So let's talk about some current wages and benefits, and I'll speak to the non-unionized positions. In regards to benefits, like any industry out there, group health benefits really depends on the size of the company. And that's kind of the availability really depends on that. There are plenty that do provide group benefits, but there are also some that don't. Most companies also provide, I would say 90% provide a yearly tool or safety gear allowance. So you would be able to, possibly get steel toe work boots or anything that's worn out to kind of renew them, and things that you would need for your job. So you're not really paying out of pocket for those, which is a nice perk to have. Wages are really dependent on the experience and the position. And I just want to give you a general idea of where you would land in terms of wages based on, I have a few of the entry-level positions here. So we talked a little about the general labor in construction. The range is really $16 to $20 an hour currently. In London, we're leaning more towards closer to the $20 mark, because it's so hard for employers to actually find even general laborers coming into the market. A lot of the hires that I see going into positions with employers, the range really is now $18 to $20 an hour, and most of them $20 an hour. Entry-level framer and roofers are pretty much the same thing, 18 to 20. And then experienced carpenters, and by experience, I mean, to be able to be placed, on a site and to carry out whatever the project is without supervision, we're looking at $50 to $60 an hour. That's what the norm in London currently is, based on the employees that we see going into these positions. We can go to the next slide if you can, Yasmin. Perfect. And Mike?
Yep. So in the unionized sector, first of all, can everyone see the shared screen there with the PowerPoint? Okay. So the unionized sector can offer maybe some slightly higher wages, and I guess the benefit we have to offer is that because, for example, Local 1059, we have 4,000 members, and you get better buying power as a group benefit, or when you're making contributions towards a pension plan. Our wages range from $46 to $50 an hour, total wage package, meaning that $34 to $36 an hour would be your hourly take-home pay. And then on top of that, you would have access to your medical and welfare plans and a very good pension plan. The other thing that we offer through our collective agreements is every week construction workers are paid out, in addition to that, 10% of their wages in the vacation pay. So if you opt to take vacation, you don't get paid during that time that you're off, but you're receiving 10% of your wages in vacation pay during the course of the year. The other point I'd make for those with limited or no experience, my opinion is starting in construction, the first step is an apprenticeship program, and often the hard part or the challenging part, you don't have an apprenticeship until you have a job with someone or an employer willing to take you on. And it's hard to get that first job with the employer if you don't have skills or experience. And so it's kind of a catch-22. So I think one of the benefits that the unionized sector has to offer is we have many employers that work under LIUNA, close to 260 employers. And with those employers, we have apprenticeship language. So we help with all the registrations, the recruiting, the interviewing. We basically have the apprenticeship program laid out for an individual who is really trying to get into construction and is less likely to get bogged down in the government paperwork and the registration and applications to be filled out. We'll help the apprentice, through their whole experience with us. And with us in LIUNA, our apprentices start at about 50% of the total wage package. So right now, the starting wage with us, similar to what was mentioned before, is $18 an hour. I guess the difference here is I really stress that people look at, not just a starting wage, but their earning potential or what benefits or pension are being offered. With our apprentice wage scale, someone who starts at $18 an hour continues through the apprenticeship program and earns $1 raise every 400 hours they work. So that's how someone can work their way up to full rate. As long as the person is reliable, able to do the job, able to learn and build as an apprentice and not have to be taught the same thing over and over again, because apprenticeship is costly. It costs not only money to train an apprentice, but it takes time away from a crew or a construction company to train that new person. And so people are willing to put in that time and effort as long as the apprentice is showing progression and not having to be taught the same thing over and over again. So I think it's important to remember total wage package, not just a starting wage rate. The most important thing is you have to love what you're doing. You have to want to do this type of work. It doesn't matter on what career you choose. You could make good money on paper, and if you hate going to work every day, then it's going to be, not a good situation. The other thing that we would have to offer here, like I said, is, as far as recruiting and interviewing and progression through the apprenticeship, it can be a little bit overwhelming for some people, especially maybe newcomers to the country, where you have to provide proof of education to be registered with the ministry as an apprentice. We'll help those people along that path. That's all I had for that slide.
So we're going to talk about what the short and long-term prospects for work in the sector are. If you're thinking about, whether or not you'll have stability or how long would this last, it's going to die off. Hopefully we get to answer some of those questions or concerns that you might have by talking a little bit about this. So overall, short and long term, really in the sector, it looks really good based on a lot of things. First and foremost, we spoke a little bit about this with Mike, but there's an aging workforce currently. So there are a lot of people within construction that are nearing retirement or about to retire or not able to retire because they can't seem to find somebody to replace them. And you'll see some of this feedback in a few of the employer interviews that we did, which we're going to play for you at the end of this presentation. There's also a shortage of workers that are entering into the skills trade. So it's really something that there's a huge opportunity for growth. If you're considering skilled trades are very lucrative. Steady and increasing amounts of work that's forecasted in London. I think permit applications for a lot of, especially residential infrastructure, like there's just an abundance of work that most companies can't seem to keep up with currently. And then also the aging infrastructure itself, which makes room for lots of renovation type work. So most residential framing companies in London, especially the ones that I'm familiar with, when I talk to them, they report having projects for the next 3 to 5 years that they already know exactly what they're doing every year. So over the next 3 to 5 years, they have a lot of projects that are just kind of waiting for them to be completed. And obviously construction is really booming. There's no indication of it slowing down. And again, as I've mentioned, workers are retiring and we need more people kind of coming into the industry. And another thing to think about is once you gain experience and you're actually in the field, you can potentially start your own business. In the sense that, for example, let's say that you've started as a general laborer, as a roofer, and you're doing roofing work. You can ease your way into having your own business by taking on freelance work on weekends. So, in your neighborhood, if you see a roof that needs to be done, you can knock on their door, give them the price that, maybe a more competitive price than an actual company, and kind of have either extra income, or with the network that you're building as you're working in the roofing industry, you can kind of create your own network and then potentially start your own business as well. So it's really promising that way. There are lots of options, or if you want to work for a good company, you just kind of stay where you are and become an experienced person, and still you would be making pretty good income. So in terms of stability, the non-unionized perspective is this, Mike, and I'll pass it over to you.
Yeah, and I think both sectors, union and non-union, it's the same. It's really done a turnaround from when I can remember being in the trade myself. Is, the concern then was working in construction. Am I going to get enough hours this year for EI, and what's going to happen this winter? It was real kind of negative, and it could be really affected by the economy. Sometimes the residential market would be dried up because interest rates went up and no one was building houses, and now it's just the total opposite. There's all sorts of work, not enough housing, and the government, it seems, whenever there is maybe a downturn in the economy, then the government will turn resources and money towards infrastructure and roads and bridges. And so I guess that's really the benefit of LiUNA. If I wanted to speak selfishly about our local, is we do residential work, we do infrastructure work, above ground work, in ground work, under the ground. So you're really protected as a construction worker. Mm-hmm. Construction has very many different trades and sectors. LiUNA, the laborers union, maybe we have a name that's not very accurate to what we do anymore. It's an old, the laborers union. We used to help out other trades, which we still do, provide general labor, but we have very many specific sectors of construction. We have 2 trades: construction craft worker trade and the cement finisher trade. We have new and emerging sectors of construction. So we do roads and bridges, and we also do utility distribution, underground directional drilling, all sorts of things that have been affected by technology. So we're not afraid of technology. And in that regard, the outlook for construction is very good with us. As you'll see on the slide there, some stats that were put out by the Ontario Construction Secretariat, just from the employer's perspective, you know, their main concern, or one of their main concerns, is just filling the need for new workers each year. And they see that that's going to be an ongoing concern for them. So someone wanting to enter the labor market in construction, you're really in the driver's seat. I say that, but also I want to say it with a little bit of caution. You know, don't expect that you're going to be able to go to anyone and, you know, get a job just like that and show up 3 or 4 days of the week. If they need you there for a 5-day week, then you have to be there on time. You're an integral part of a crew. If someone doesn't show up on a job site one day and there's a concrete truck and one person short, you probably won't get called back to that job site again. So you're an integral part of a team, and you have to be a reliable part of that team. The other thing, like was mentioned, being a construction worker with a set of skills is almost like owning a pickup truck. All of a sudden you have a bunch of friends who want to borrow the truck on the weekend. So if you have skills and experiences, yeah, it could lead to self-employment. You could start your own business. You could make some extra money on your weekend time if you have time or you want to do that. And I've done that. It just happens naturally. If you do good work, word gets around. So the demand is high, very high. And I think the other thing that the labor market is struggling with right now, there's not a lot of people, in my opinion, that are really interested or committed to working in doing this type of work. I think a lot of people entering the labor market don't really understand what they're looking at, or maybe if they're younger, their parents have always leaned them towards, oh, you have to get post-secondary education, college, university, which is awesome. But I consider a skilled trade, you know, that third option. There's college and there's university, but also there's a skilled trade and there's a formal apprenticeship that is very worthwhile and very valuable.
Okay, Yasmin, there we go. And I think we're going to pass it on to Paul here.
Yeah, thanks, Talay. And some of these have been mentioned already. Just if I just will introduce myself. Wanda had mentioned that I'm representing Fanshawe, and yes, I am. What I am doing right now is I'm a project coordinator for a Skills Advanced Ontario project, or referred to as an SAO. So probably several of you, especially if you're working with the employment services, you may be very aware of the SAO projects that are going on across the province. The one that I'm responsible for is specifically working with the construction sector and providing training for individuals to be general laborers in the construction sector. It's a project where employers have a lot of input. And so these are the sorts of things that employers are looking for. Both Mike and Talay have touched on some of these already, but people who are going to be motivated and are results driven. Do not rely on others to make them productive. In other words, they can work independently with minimal supervision, because there could be multiple job sites, and the foreperson, if you will, wouldn't necessarily be in every site at all times. Understand the value in a good wage earned for an honest day's work. Are reliable, not looking to receive full-time wages for part-time work. Are able to work with people of diverse ages, nationalities, skill sets, and so on. I think that is key. Are able to be mobile and report to work at locations that are sometimes not in town or on a public transportation route. And I want to highlight something that Talay had said, I think right from the beginning, the value of having a driver's license. What we've seen with our participants, the barrier that has come up a number of times is that driver's license. They can get themselves to the site, but without that driver's license, they're not able to drive the company vehicle, which has been a barrier to employment for some of the participants that have worked with our project. As we know, because of the pandemic, getting your license, there's a huge waiting and backlog. So whatever you can do to get in the queue to start that process will be beneficial. And to take ownership of their apprenticeship and become certified in their respective trade, resulting in a rewarding career in a sector that has a lot to offer. Just as an aside, a lot of the employers that I talk to, they'll say, please come with those essential, or what we sometimes call the soft skills. Give me somebody who's committed, give me somebody who's reliable, somebody that can manage their time, a good communicator, and we'll teach them the technical skills. So that's the mindset of a number of those employers. So I think that's something to keep in mind. Okay, Mike?
Yeah, all good points. When I'm interviewing for our apprenticeship program, for example, even though someone may not be able to show ability or experiences because of the lack of experience, you know, if they can show the ability to start and finish something, whether it's schooling or some upgrading courses they've taken, or volunteering, or starting and completing a personal project around the house, for example, those are all things that are good too to help get your foot in the door. But I think you said it well, is the employers are looking for something or somebody that they can work with. They have the soft skills and the ability to get along with people on a crew and in a team environment. Then they can teach the skills of the trade going forward.
So shall we play the interviews that we did, or if you'd like, I can just finish the slide. How would you like to do this?
Why don't we finish this slide? We can
Okay.
probably each speak to one of those bullets and then go to the videos.
Go to the videos. Okay, perfect. So if you're thinking about, if we've convinced you to, you know, go into the construction industry, what are some of the ways that you can enter this? I can speak to Pathways Employment Help Center, which is where I'm at. We have a course called the Construction Technologies course. So it is a 9-week program. And the 9th week of it is a co-op placement, where you'll be placed with an employer that is most likely looking to hire. And a lot of our graduates actually end up getting an offer once they complete their co-op placement. So it's, unless there's something that went really wrong on that placement, the likelihood of you gaining employment from that placement is very high. So it's a 9-week course. We have a wonderful, huge workshop where you get hands-on experience in building a house, a smaller version of a house, but it's pretty big, where you can walk in. You do everything from like framing, drywalling, mudding. We do roofing, shingles, window installments. So it's very hands-on. It is residential experience that you would be getting in the course. And then there's obviously classroom coursework that you complete, and you learn things like the basics, how to read a tape measure, how to read blueprints. Once you graduate from this course, you graduate with your Working at Height certification, which is needed for most jobs in construction, your WHMIS, first aid, CPR, safe saw handling, health and safety awareness. And we also give you your resume should you need it. And then we work with you for 6 months, which it won't take that long to find a position in construction, but we provide support afterwards after you're done as well. So if anybody's interested in taking the course, you know, you can feel free to reach out to me. And it's truly a great program. That's a really good way. Or if you're looking for straight employment, you can also contact us, and we can help you with your job search. And you know, I'll use my networking, my contacts in the industry to find employment that would kind of suit you and your needs.
So the next bullet there is apprenticeships within the local union. So there's many different trade unions, like I had mentioned. Specifically, LIUNA, Local 1059, we accept applications any time of the year for apprenticeship, people looking to get into the trades that we represent. And our main way of doing that is through pre-apprenticeship training. So if you came through the interview process and we feel you're a good fit for that person has what it takes to start and finish a career in construction, then we will commit to a 4 to 6 week training program. It's been condensed this year because of COVID, but a pre-apprenticeship training program similar to what was explained. You're going to get your mandatory health and safety certifications that will be assigned to you. And then LIUNA will hook you up with one of our signatory contractors. So if you're successful in that training period, you're guaranteed a job placement. When you start working at that first year apprentice wage rate, you start a 90-day probationary period. And it's at that point that we really get feedback from the employer. You know, a candidate could come through our pre-apprenticeship program and show up every day and show potential, but then when it comes to the practical work or the finality of showing up to the job site every day on time, that's the proving ground as to the 90 days, so that we have a very good comfort level, so that we're not wasting our time or wasting the candidate's time before we take that final step, which would be after the 90 days to sign a formal contract of apprenticeship with the person and the Ministry of Labor, Training and Skills Development, and then you're off to the next step. So our main recruiting tool is our pre-apprenticeship program, and details can be found on our website if you're interested.
Thanks, Mike. And I'll speak to the Skills to Build program. As I said, the Skills to Build is our title for that Skills Advanced Ontario project of the construction sector. So our group just refers to it as the Skills to Build program. And unfortunately, I'm going to be talking about it somewhat in a past tense, because it is a pilot project that started in April, and contractually it comes to an end early December. Having said that, I wouldn't be at all surprised if in fact it does get extended, or it comes back under a slightly different name. I understand that the Skills Development Fund may be replacing Skills Advanced Ontario. So again, it's all through the Ministry of Labor, Training and Skills Development. What we did and are currently still doing is we've worked with 4 cohorts. We have cohorts in the City of London as well as in St. Thomas Elgin. And we provided 5 weeks of training for the participants. And we had over 50 in total over the 4 cohorts. Some of the training was done virtually, and some of it face-to-face. The technical training was done face-to-face in both campuses of Fanshawe. The technical spaces at the main campus in London was used, as well as technical spaces in the campus in St. Thomas. Following the 5 weeks of training, where the participants would have received certifications that have been stated both by Talay and Mike, very similar certifications. They've gone out on a 6-week paid placement, job placement. So they work with what we have employment coaches or employment consultants who work with the participants as well as the employers to try to get them a job placement. And in a number of cases, as these job placements come to an end, the good news is they continue on in more permanent employment with those employers. Ours, yes, it is residential, training in residential construction, yes, around renovations, but it's also very diverse. So we do some training with landscape design, for example, landscape maintenance, pool installers, pavers. So the construction sector, especially that term general laborer, can be used in a very diverse areas. So as we see that last bullet, entry-level jobs such as construction general laborer, apprentice and helper, all the different things that you might see in a posting. Today, we've got videos. Today's got some videos from employers, and I also have a video with regards to the Skills to Build program. And Yasmin, I don't know which one you have first.
Just give me
Thank you,
one
Yasmin.
second. Yeah, I'll
can
share
see you.
today's
It's Tulay,
Yeah,
actually.
July, sorry.
That's okay.
Whoops, sorry, just one sec.
My name is Philip Santos, and I'm the president of JS Masonry. Majority of work what we do is residential bricking, commercial, also cinder block, stonework, and a little bit of chimneys, also 2 fireplaces indoors. Them being on time, punctuality, commitment to wanting to learn the trade, not having the attitude of this is just a job, because this is a career. Masonry work is there's a lot of opportunity and a lot of good money to be made. As a laborer, you're looking at starting at 18, but you can make anywhere up to 23, 24, depending on your experience.
Okay.
And then as a bricklayer, just starting with a company is usually about $30 an hour.
For you.
Business is it's very busy right now. A little bit more than what I can handle actually at the moment, and probably into the next 3-4 years. Going into bricklaying is a good decision. It's a dying trade. A lot of people are retiring. That's why I probably get 2 phone calls a day of people looking for a bricklayer to come do their house, but I have to say no because we don't find bricklayers anywhere. Just recently I had to bring people out of retirement to come and work this year because I can't find anybody that wants to learn the trade, but it's a good trade to get into. Well, you can do what I did. I called Pathways, and I was able to get 2 laborers that way. And also I got another person a job with a builder doing laboring. But going to a construction site and just say, hey, I wouldn't mind learning the trade. You have to put yourself out there, because then if they see you taking the initiative to go in there, then people look at that.
Okay.
So my name is Bill Sherwood. Company is Workhorse Labor, and we provide general construction labor to the residential construction industry with a focus on high-rise developments. In general, the main goal is to get somebody that will show up to work and with the willingness to work, and always looking for somebody that wants to learn. We start our general labor positions at $16 an hour, and it goes up based on experience. And our carpentry positions typically start around 25 an hour and goes up fairly quickly from there. Typically the goal is to work 44 hours. Some start nice and early at 6:30, and some will work into the later hours after 6 o'clock. For the general labor position, we can take anybody that's got an interest in working and willing to learn. So they can start with no experience at all. On the construction carpentry side, we look for someone with a few years experience, which is typically gained in the residential construction area. So in London, with the current companies that, with the current clients that we work with, we've got about a 10-year plan where they have 10 years worth of high-rise on the books with various levels of permits at the city. So the work is imminent here in London.
Okay.
So I use various agencies like Pathways, different websites like Indeed, or a lot of times it's just through word of mouth. Colleagues, friends, people show up to job sites and submit their resumes.
Steve, Hennessy, Site Supervisor, Kenmore Homes. Mostly reliability, willing to learn. Basically somebody that's in need of a job and wanting to continue in this construction field. Our biggest problem, labor force, of course, is definitely a problem right now. There doesn't seem to be as many students coming out wanting to work in the field. We look for a labor and we look for also handyman style fields, such as, like more in the service and fix-up departments as well, right? Right now, for laborers, we're starting at around 18 to 21. Again, depending, we've had to raise that up because of, availability of people and to try and get somebody that would be willing to come and work at a decent rate. So when you get up to more of a skilled labor or skilled tradesman, generally start from 23 to 25. For the most part, 9 hours is usually a maximum amount of hours that we do a day. So yeah, no, we're still increasing for demand. Yeah. There just is not enough skilled trades is our biggest problem right now. And a lot of us that have been in the business for so long, we're getting up to that retirement age and there's nobody that's coming that wants to try and take over like my job and run things. So what we've been doing lately is advertising on Indeed. Seems to be the main source of trying to find somebody. Very rarely would we get anybody seeking us out. We don't get resumes that way. We just get emails that somebody's looking for a job. So.
Fanshawe College Skills to Build Challenge presentation.
Humble beginnings. Yeah, wow, we just started with a whole bunch of scrap pallets and yeah, it was awesome. So I think you'll be pretty stoked to see what we came up with at the end.
What would we like to build while we're brainstorming? Maybe a chair or a shelf? How about a doghouse? What would make the best use of the materials provided? Something that catches your eye and still serves a purpose, I'm sure.
We came up with a cooler holder.
Settle on the upside down pyramid coffee table.
We decided to make some planter boxes.
Just do a chair with a little compartment that opens up on the side.
We decided to go with the bar because we thought we would still make it look like a pallet.
So we do have a couple of sketches here just to give us a visual reference of what we were working towards.
The third day we just started painting, kind of added a little footrest at the end just to add a little extra comfort as well.
Once the boxes were fully put together, we sanded off the tops and the corners to make them safer to handle.
Sanding, sanding, and sanding. Everyone knows because we've all done it. Now we have our finished product, our beautiful pallet table. Once every inch of wood has been sanded down smoothly, blow off the sawdust with compressed air, the table is ready to enjoy.
And yes, sorry, that is our cooler. Just open a cold beverage and enjoy.
Our final product, the upside down pyramid coffee table. That's the tabletop on the right there, and yeah, that's our view.
That was it for us.
And that was our final result.
Our greatest successes was actually just becoming a team, because we all came from different backgrounds, have varying levels of experience, but we came together as a team.
Some days were tougher than others, but we're really proud of where we ended up, especially considering, where we started with that big old pile of scrap pallets.
This palette challenge gave us a chance to use some of the skills that we've learned and expanded throughout the course.
Okay, and those are some of the interviews that we did, and then to end it off, we had the final one there. That's kind of sums up our presentation for you today. I think if anybody has questions, or Joanna, if you want to.
There's questions, just give me 2 seconds if I can actually. Okay, let's have a look. Okay, so there's a question from Chad. What is a Red Seal and how can someone get a Red Seal certificate?
I can answer that if you want. And you can chime in too, but my experience with the Red Seal trades, if a trade is Red Seal, then it's recognized throughout Canada, regardless of what province you're in. So there's a few trades that are Red Seal. I think the chat also asked specifically about electrical. So electrical apprenticeship is a Red Seal trade. Construction craft worker is a Red Seal trade, as is carpentry, plumbing. And so it's recognized throughout Canada. Also, if it's a Red Seal trade, then that apprentice is eligible for a few extra perks along the way. So when you finish a level of trade school, for example, in a Red Seal trade, you can collect twice. When you complete a level of trade school, you apply and you get $1,000 grant. Not a loan, but it's a grant paid to you by the government. And when you complete your apprenticeship and you write your final exam and pass the provincial exam, then you're eligible for a $2,000 completion grant. So the government is really trying to entice people to consider trades, specifically Red Seal trades, to not only start an apprenticeship, but complete your schooling, complete your hours, complete your logbooks, and then take that final step and write your provincial exam so that you become certified in that trade.
Perfect. There's a question: how can I get a financial contact to ask some questions about courses? So I'm assuming at the end you're going to be sharing the contact information for yourselves. Oh, there you go. Perfect. Okay, so we got that. Let me see if there's another question. Oh, Tule, you had 100% success rate gaining employment. Steph, thank you for bragging. That's awesome. I like that. 100%. Tule, you're hired.
It was 100%. It was really exciting. We made a trophy and everything. It was really exciting.
Do you have the trophy?
I do. Okay, hold on 1 sec, friends. I'm going to show you.
It was supposed to be a joke, and I'm glad that everybody gets to see this now. But yes, the likelihood of you gaining employment when
it's 100%, guys. 100%.
That's good.
That is amazing.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks, Steph.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just quickly looking at the questions. I guess you kind of answered that, but how can someone get a electrical certificate? So you kind of explained it, sort of. There's a comment: I was going to apply for Pancha as an electrical instructor. They require me to have a Red Seal certificate. Okay.
Yeah, so I think Juan asked that question. And even though it's specific to his situation about wanting to apply to Fanshawe, that's a good question, because there's other people that may be coming from other countries or areas where they have a trade or some trade experience. And if they don't feel that they would benefit from serving a full-blown apprenticeship, there's a process you can go through with the ministry. It's called the TEA process, Trade Equivalency Assessment. So if you have skills and experience from another jurisdiction, then you can apply for the trade equivalency assessment, prove your hours, and prove your competencies, basically get a letter from past employers, and then you can challenge the final provincial exam. And that's how you could become certified. So that may be an option for one.
Okay. Is there any more questions from anybody else?
Mazen had a question there on the chat to me, to LiUNA. Yeah, so if on the last slide, if you want to look at our website, Mazen, and you can get some information there about our apprenticeship program. There's a few questions you can answer to see if it's maybe a good fit for you. And if you feel it is, then you can apply online or you can come to our office in person.
Perfect.
I had a question for Tulay. Does Pathways, when you're interviewing people for your construction training program, would you look at some of those soft skill questions? So would you make sure that these are individuals who have those types of skills before you would bring them into that program to teach them the specific skills?
We honestly, with anyone with interest in the course, and if we feel that they would be able to follow the material, they can sign up for the course. And currently we actually just got word of some other funding. So if you're worried about, funding for the course, we're able to find solutions for you. So I would really highly encourage anybody. I mean, most people on this presentation that are attending this Zoom call, I think would qualify regardless. But if you have any questions or if you're reluctant because you're not sure, just reach out to us. We have lots of options available. So Wanda, to answer your question though, it's not really like an interview. We just require them to really have interest. And if we feel that, they could follow the course material, then absolutely they can sign up for it. Am I wrong, Steph, here with this answer?
No, that's exactly it. Ultimately, we just need folks to be able to come to classes, another big one. So they just need to have the time to be able to be here from, typically it starts at 8:30 until around 2:30 or 3. So that's the attendance is really important for us because there's a lot of safety training that is done while folks are here. And if they miss it, we can't feel necessarily comfortable just kind of setting people free without all the safety training. The other thing is there is a little bit of paperwork at the beginning insofar as codes and learning measurements and the health and safety training. We do quite a bit of that at the front. So we do ask that people feel prepared to do a little bit of classroom learning for about the first week before they do the hands-on stuff. So we just ask for just a little bit of patience with that. We know if you want to be a hands-on person, the classroom stuff isn't always your favorite, but it's not my favorite either. I would much rather have a hammer than be in the classroom, but we do ask that you're just prepared for that.
Yeah, and I just wanted to point out to Ontario Works clients, you can always reach out to your caseworker for more information about any of the folks presenting today. And also about, we do have benefits available that might help you with some of the costs involved with some of these programs. So always, don't be afraid to ask your caseworker about anything regarding this if you're interested.
Perfect. There's an additional question in regards to the level of English. Is there a specific level of English that's required to apply in, apprenticeship/construction?
So for our course at Pathways, you have to have an English level 5 in order to be administered, to be put in the course, to take the course.
For Pathways, okay. And how about the rest, Mike?
Yeah, so our benchmark there is a ministry requirement of a minimum of grade 10. We're looking for a grade 12 diploma, whether it's here or an equivalency somewhere else. But as was mentioned by Wanda, there's other partnerships that we have if someone's not up to speed or needs to do some upgrading, perhaps take some other course, whether it's communications or construction related math. There's all sorts of help out there.
For us, with the SAO project, there was not a formal requirement. However, communication is important, as are some basic math skills. And what we found was, if we had participants who were interested but we didn't feel that their language or their math skills would allow them to be successful at this time. We did connect them with other services. And one of the partners was the Literacy and Basic Skills, the LBS group. So that maybe they weren't ready right now, but could be following that support that we could get them through LBS.
Is there physical requirements that you guys would require? Like, I know, like, you got to be able to work for like 9 hours or so, anywhere between 8 and 9 hours. But in terms of aging, are you guys looking more for like a younger clients or like potential employers or employees?
No.
Or
Our age group was quite broad. What I found with the employers, they would state being able to lift 50 pounds as kind of the standard.
50 pounds?
50 pounds. Now, did we have a test where they were lifting 50 pounds? No, we didn't have that. But that kind of conversation we would have in an intake interview.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't have much to add there. Yeah, the being able to lift 50 pounds, that's a good starting point. I think once you get experience and some years under your belt, then you can work smarter and not harder. But as a first-time apprentice or someone entering the job, some of the tasks that you're going to be asked to do are physically demanding because you're probably doing it the wrong way until someone teaches you the right way, right? So, yeah. And communication skills, I can't stress enough construction-related math. You know, even if you weren't good at math in high school or public school, when you can build something and measure it and touch and feel it, then construction-related math starts making sense again. And in trade school, we can help people with that. But your options, it opens up a lot of options for people in construction when they are good with the math, because now you can access the blueprints, whether it's paper-based or on an iPad nowadays, and start working with your head and your hands, and it leads to more opportunity down the road.
Those are things that you can get more comfortable with too. The more like you could start in an entry level and kind of work your way there. But the most important thing that I hear from employers, like in terms of feedback, is how to read a tape measure. It seems very basic, but I don't think it is. So if you're able to read a tape measure, you're really ahead of the game.
You guys teach that at Pathways?
Yeah.
Is that part of the skill? Yeah.
It actually is, yeah.
Yeah. Good point. And being that we are a metric country, but we still have imperial measurements, you have to know metric and imperial.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Does anyone else have a question? Otherwise, I'm just gonna go like how great the presentation was, and thank you so much. Honestly, I found that such valuable information, and you get the way you guys shared that. I'm impressed. So thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day and sharing your knowledge and wisdom. Obviously, you guys are very passionate, and some of you have like 100%, success rate. So listen, now I'm like, I need to like bring up my game. 100%.
If you do, you'll get a trophy. We'll make you a trophy here. We have a nice shop. I'll make you one.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Take care.